In the second video of our two-part series, we will look at how Fitch assigns issuer default ratings and ratings to different classes of debt obligations issued by insurers and reinsurers. Please refer to the previous video for information on Fitch's rating framework and how we assign insurer financial strength ratings. An issuer default rating, or IDR, reflects an issuer's vulnerability to default and do not consider potential recoveries on obligations. The IDR is derived or notched from an applicable insurer financial strength, or IFS rating, and is then used as the basis to determine debt ratings at the operating entity level and the holding company level. The notching of a debt issue rating relative to the IDR is based on expected recoveries in the event of a default. For certain subordinated debt, additional notching may be applied to reflect non-performance risk. The IDR of an operating company is notched from the IFS rating based on the assumed recovery for policyholder and reinsurance obligations embedded in the IFS rating. When regulation is classified as either group solvency or ring fencing, Fitch assumes an IFS rating recovery of good, and the IDR of an operating entity is one notch below the IFS. The notching between the operating company's IDR and its parent holding company's IDR is based on the perceived difference in default risk between the two entities. For an investment-grade insurer, if ring fencing is in place, the IDR is one notch below that of the operating entity, while in a group solvency environment, the IDRs of holding and operating companies are aligned. The notching of debt issue ratings differs between operating companies and holding companies and follows two steps. Step 1. The notching of debt issue ratings is based on expected recoveries in the event of a default. For example, if the debt issue is categorized as senior unsecured and issued by a holding company, its rating is one notch below the issuer's IDR, while for an operating company it is aligned to the IDR. For subordinated debt, recovery assumptions are generally weaker and additional notches may apply. Step 2. For subordinated or deeply subordinated debt ratings, notching is additionally influenced by the risk that the hybrid would become non-performing prior to default. Notches in Step 1 and Step 2 are added up to arrive at the final debt rating. Let's consider the example of a U.S. insurer with an A+ IFS rating. The IDR of the operating company is typically one notch lower than its IFS rating. Surplus notes issued by the operating entity are usually rated one notch below the IDR of the operating company. The holding company IDR is typically one notch lower than the operating company IDR at A- in this example. Senior unsecured debt issued by the holding company is typically notched down by one from the issuer's IDR. Hence, an A+ IFS rating would typically result in a BBB+ senior unsecured rating. Preferred debt issued by the holding company is typically rated two notches below the senior unsecured, leading to a BBB- rating. For a typical insurer in Europe, group solvency notching is applied. Taking an example of an insurer with an IFS of A+, the IDRs of both the operating company and the holding company are one notch below the IFS rating at A. Senior unsecured debt issued by the operating company is typically rated at the same level as the issuing entity's IDR. Tier 2, subordinated debt issued by the operating company, is usually two notches below the senior unsecured. If issued by the holding company, senior unsecured debt is typically rated one notch below the holding company's IDR. The Tier 2 subordinated debt is typically two notches lower at BBB. If an insurer is based in Bermuda, the notching is similar to the European example with respect to the IDR notching and the more senior debt. However, the junior debt may be treated differently depending on security-specific considerations. This completes our two-part video series. Should you have any questions, please find a list of contacts on fitchratings.com/insurance.